Hi friends, welcome to my YouTube channel Kalachakra Star 59. Now let us proceed to see the iconic Little Mermaid, which is a bronze statue by Edvard Eriksen depicting a mermaid becoming human that sits atop a large rock at Langelinie Pier in Copenhagen, Denmark. First displayed in 1913, the statue commemorates the famous fairy tale by the same name by Danish author Hans Christian Andersen. It is one of the most famous statues in the world and Denmark's most famous tourist attraction. The statue of a winged female that you see here is a maritime monument commemorating Danish sailors who died in World War I. The monument also includes narrative reliefs on its base. It is situated on the Langelinie Promenade, a short walk from the Little Mermaid. The names of the 101 Danish merchant ships that sank during World War I and the 648 sailors who drowned are listed on the monument. The monument was inaugurated in 1928. At the top of the monument stands a woman in bronze with outstretched wings and a wreath in her left hand. The artists were sculptor Svend Rathsack and architect Ivar Bentsen. Unfortunately, this statue was not seen from close quarters and we all missed it. The Little Mermaid statue is 1.25 meters tall and weighs 175 kilograms. This small and unimposing statue has gained so much popularity that it is considered as a Copenhagen icon, which personally I find difficult to acknowledge by any stretch of imagination. I attribute such a reputation to mere hype or at best national pride. The Little Mermaid is one among the iconic statues that symbolize cities, like, for example, the Statue of Liberty in New York and Mannequin Peace in Brussels, and so on. The statue was commissioned in 1909 by Carl Jacobsen, son of the founder of Carlsberg, who had been fascinated by a ballet about the fairy tale in Copenhagen's Royal Theatre and asked the ballerina Ellen Price to model for the statue. The sculptor Edvard Eriksen created the bronze statue, which was unveiled on August 23, 1913. The statue's head was modeled after Price, but as the ballerina did not agree to model in the nude, the sculptor's wife, Elaine Eriksen, was used for the body. The story of the Little Mermaid that Hans Christian Andersen wrote in 1836 reads like this. It is the story of a 15-year-old little mermaid who saves the life of a shipwrecked prince and sets off on a perilous quest to win his love. The price she pays is dear. To become human, she must give up her lovely voice as well as her mermaid's tail, and if the prince should wed another, she will turn into foam on the waves and disappear forever. The story ends tragically when the little mermaid no longer gets her prince and she transforms into cold sea foam. You will recognize a sad, melancholic look at the face of the statue. Perhaps what gets noticed is not happiness in life but sadness. Here you see two big statues flanked on either side of the main entrance of the Royal Danish Theatre in Copenhagen. This is the statue of Ludwig Holberg, who was a Norwegian Danish dramatist, historian, and essayist. Ludwig was the outstanding Scandinavian literary figure of the Enlightenment period, claimed by both Norway and Denmark as one of the founders of their literatures. Ludwig's statue was sculpted by Theobald Stein. The next statue that you see is of Adam Oehlenschläger, a Danish poet and playwright. He introduced Romanticism into Danish literature. The statue of Adam was sculpted by Herman Wilhelm Bison. Though I had noticed these statues while walking towards the Canal tour pier, unfortunately the details were missing at that time. I gathered the details later and felt happy that I could appreciate the statues better. Let us continue walking towards the Canal tour pier of Copenhagen.
Ada charmbur ya? Iya, boat.
No, you better no answer. No.
It's great.
Kal.
It's
okay. ಹೌದು.
ಓಕೆ ಓಕೆ ಕಳಿಸುವ.
ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಲ್ಲಿ ಓಕೆ.
ನಾವೇನೇನೋ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ.
ಆಗತ್ತೆ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು.
ನಗದು ಸಾಕು. ಲಾಂಗ್ ಹಾಕೊಳ್ಳಿ ಸರ್.
ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ತಲೆನೇ ಬರುತ್ತೆ.
ಅದು ಇರ್ಬೇಕು ಸರ್, ನ್ಯಾಚುರಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲ ಅದು. Mind your heads. Mind your heads. It is very low today. Mind your phone. Mind your heads. Mind your glasses. Mind your hair.
ಯವ್ವ ಮಂಡೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಿತ್ತು
I ain't no kidding. It is really low. Building. To your right here, He'll stay a school ship where young Danish are educated into becoming sailors. 64 cadets every half year. Ja, vi er stadig her. Det er jo skoleskibet, og det uddanner 80 unge mennesker med halve år til at blive søfolk. And to your right here, the old narrow shipyard is closed down. And behind that, the opera house was put up 205. The gift from there to University Foundation to Copenhagen. The main auditorium, 200 seats, and one plain walls, architect, left like a musical instrument, and the ceiling, beautiful and for large chandeliers for
Copenhagen lunch at Copenhagen Indian restaurant. ಎಂತ 199 ಇದಾ? What is there for lunch? Sorry. Yeah, please. What is there for lunch? Mutton masala, palak, mixed vegetable curry. Okay. Good. Papad.